This is the Gothic Beach Bum, and we're finally doing this video like 2 weeks and 5 days. Basically 3 weeks late. Yeah. So anyway, the reason I've been putting this video off is because I'm like just super duper self-conscious about this specific video because well, it just this chapter didn't go the way I wanted it to in any regard, and by the time I put it out, I had gotten a first draft. I was gonna have a lot of exposition and introduce a character that was supposed to be like a friendly NPC. Then I decided that I really didn't want to just exposition dump. So I decided to introduce a different aspect of what's going on. And, well, then the character just kind of made a bunch of, like, dumb decisions that I thought was kind of funny at the time. And by the time I realized just how stupid some of the things were in this chapter, I was just kind of stuck with it, and I had to commit at that point because it was already a day late and needed to be rewritten and posted. So this is what came out of it. It is well, suffice to say, it is an interesting mishmash of random thoughts that just got splattered all over a page. But the next chapter I am much happier with, and I start moving the plot forward there, like actually moving it forward, because this was kind of the option that was going to yield a rather boring result and skip over a few very important events that I had initially wanted to put in the story. And I decided just kind of at the last minute that I didn't like the exposition again, and I also didn't really want to reward the choice of, well, choosing social anxiety over making logical sense in a survival situation with story exposition. So this is just kind of how that came about. And I'm going to stop rambling now and get to the actual reading. Chapter 2, Last Meal. Not wanting to risk human interaction, you've chosen the boathouse. It's about time you get out of this hellish, freezing downpour. You make your way across the bridge and skirt off towards the boathouse, trying to keep yourself as low and close to the edge of the lake as possible. You glance around, wary of your surroundings, trying to make sure you're unseen and unnoticed. The statues by the door make you feel uneasy, but in the dark of the storm and the night, you can't make out enough details to tell why. From a distance, the boathouse looked pristine, but up close you can tell the state of general neglect and disrepair. Someone clearly painted over it to cover up a rundown eyesore. The door is unlocked, and the hinge squeaks audibly, even over the sound of the storm. It sends a bolt fear through you at the prospect of being discovered due to a mere hinge. You glance around again, but it looks like nobody is around to see or hear, so you just push on inside, out of the rain. Stepping in from the storm, you feel physically lighter. You didn't realize just how hard the rain and wind had belted and buffeted you. It's still cold, but practically nothing compared to outside. You take in a deep breath and let it out in order to get back on track. It's incredibly dark in here, so you fish your phone out of your inner breast pocket for a light, and hopefully a signal. Still no signal. You slowly pan the light from your phone around the room. Looks like your run-of-the-mill decrepit old shack. Some rusty gardening and woodworking tools here and there. A couple of dusty tarps. Something feels a little off, but you can't really place it. As the light pans over the rowboats moored here, your blood runs cold. something unmistakable for anything else. Inside the boots, several body bags, discarded in a heap. And by the looks of things, the bags are occupied. You fight down your immediate sense of panic, and you take a better look around. Those tools are rusty, but they aren't just rusty. There's clearly dried blood on them. They're hanging over a metal chair, covered in and sitting on an obvious combination of stains. You also notice there's no insects, spiders, or vermin about the place. Even the insects know to avoid certain death. But here you are. You had hoped you could get some sleep in here, but that seems to be off the table now. You also know there's no way you would survive a return trip to your car. Not to mention the cab is likely halfway submerged in ice-cold water by now. That's also assuming the ditch hasn't just filled up and swept it away in the current. No, you're very much stuck here. Right here in the murder shack. You scan the room a little more and notice some canned food, a little burner, some cabinets. While on one hand, you're keenly aware of how absolutely and horrifically you're going to be killed if you get found here amongst the bodies, you're also pretty hungry. You're already up to your eyes in it. You have nowhere else to go, and it's not like they can murder you twice, so you may as well grab a bite to eat and see if there's any coffee to get you through the night. It's still only like 10:30, and it's a long way till morning. Rummaging through the cabinets, you can't shake the grim reality that this is likely your last meal. The cabinets are surprisingly well stocked. There was even a couple of pans, a coffee pot, so you decide you may as well go all out. Spam, baked beans, instant mashed potatoes, carrots, green beans, and there was even a can of good old sugary Sam stuffed in the back. Almost a proper out-of-season Christmas dinner. You wolf it down like it's going out of style. A full belly has very much calmed your nerves. On top of that, you're fully dried off. Somewhere along the way, you decided to rinse the mud off your shoes. You even had a traditional post-Christmas dinner bathroom break, just to kill some time. You notice a small cot in the corner and decide to sit down to drink your coffee. You manage to kill a little under 2 hours. All in all, your phone battery is pretty depleted at this point, so you decide to just live with the dark and put it back in your pocket. As you sip on your warm pot of coffee, you start to get hot from having 2 coats on. You take off the longer one so you can cover up your legs and even things out, but it's still just a little too cold for your lighter coat, and it's not quite long enough to get all the cold places, so you lay down, curl up, and use it like a blanket. You notice you're getting pretty comfortable for being in a murder shack, but you don't seem to be able to care. Between the food, the boredom of laying here in the dark, and the sound of the rain on the roof, the coffee just isn't doing any good. Eventually you fall asleep. You awaken with a jerk sometime later in the night to people screaming somewhere nearby. You can make out one in particular, a man, more panicked than the others, growing more and more frantic by the second. Suddenly his screams cut off, and the panic amongst the rest intensifies. This pattern follows one by one until there was only one left, a woman. Being able to make out her voice as the remainder, you're frozen in fear. Noticeably coming closer, you hear her last words. Help, please. I'm sorry. Please get me out. Please, no. Don't let them get me. Please, no, no, no. The last word trails into incoherent screaming again as whatever them was clearly got hold of her. Louder, closer, more panic, and finally sudden silence, just like the others. Maybe a minute later, you hear something heavy and wet slam into the wall your back is against. Even worse, you see a light coming towards the door. Eyes darting around, you look for options. What do? Leave the boathouse by trying to jump a small gap opposite the door between the mouth of the building at the edge of the lake. Going back into the storm. Nature is probably less dangerous than someone who just killed half a dozen people. Hide under the bed and wait for them to leave. The frame is pretty low to the ground, and there's enough space for you to fit easily. Or grab one of the tools and ambush them as they come in. You don't know how many there are, but you have the element of surprise. Now, it has been far too long for this, so I did not get it posted on time. Patreon unanimously decided to fight. So if you, you're not going to get a chance to vote on this one, even if you subscribe. Next one you will, even though there's only going to be like maybe a day on it. Maybe the one after that for sure. So again, Patreon decided to fight. The next video is going to be much more interesting, and it's going to come out here in the next couple of days rather than taking the next couple of weeks, because I want to be caught up so that there is time to make the video for when I put the next chapter out next week. This has been the Gothic Beach Bum. I'll be back in a couple of days. I may post like a random vlog or something like that in between somewhere, but yeah, this is just going to be today's video, and I hope you like it.